Hi, everybody. Well, it's Planets Week in astronomy, and that is always a lot of fun because what's more interesting than the planets and the moons in our very own solar system? They are so diverse and so different. Everything from rocky little Mercury that is heated so hot next to our sun, Venus with its dense atmosphere, and then it got banged somewhere in its early life, so it's kind of rotating sideways compared to the rest of the plane of the ecliptic. Our beautiful Earth, our dear friend Mars, that looks like the best possibility for us moving to another planet if we're going to colonize one. Jupiter, king of the planets, with 80 some moons. Oh my gosh, it is almost like a solar system all to itself. Saturn with its elegant and gorgeous sets of rings. Uranus and Neptune, which are kind of the twins. They look so much alike. And they are this big gas giants that are just icy and cold and frozen gas. What could be cooler than that? We're going to talk about those 8 planets. We're going to save our wee little dwarf planet Pluto and its other dwarf planet cousins for the next chapter. So we're going to concentrate on those. And then the lab this week is on constellations, which is a favorite. People seem to enjoy it. I love constellations. I like being the person who can sit out at the family picnic and go, oh yes, that's Sirius, and oh yes, that is Orion, and that's Taurus, and it's really fun, and it's just a good time. So let's take a look at Canvas and let's look at that lab. As always, we're going to talk a little bit, we're going to have a study guide, we're going to start talking about the basic structure of our solar system, then go into those terrestrial planets. Terrestrial meaning Earth-like, so that's Mercury, Venus, the Earth, and Mars, because we are a lot alike. The gas giants, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, those are those icy big worlds out on the edge of our solar system. And that's going to occupy most of the week, well, all of the week, and then we're going to talk about our Constellation Lab. So let's go over to that Constellation Lab. Now, the lab itself is this. A little background information. You might want to go back to your notes from week 1. You might want to go to some of the information back from chapter 1. I constantly in this class ask you to revisit information. That's how you learn it. So talking about how many constellations we have, how long it takes them to travel, and things like that. So look up some of that information, make sure it's fresh in your mind. If you had gone to the constellation module in the course early on, printed the whole collection of constellation pictures with no names and cut these out and put names on them, and you have been using these like flashcards, cool beans. These are the images that I use when I make our quizzes. This comes from a website called Free Constellation Clip Art, or something to that effect. And if you have not done that yet, then I highly recommend that you print these and cut these out. Why? Because in order to do the lab, you are going to be matching. The activities in the lab today are 2, and both of them are matching, and you have 1 constellation for each thing we're talking about. And so for me, I like putting things in piles and saying, yes, 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 I've used that, I have not used that. And flashcards people use them because they are handy. If you have purchased the store-bought flashcards that I recommended in the bookstore, you have to remove a few. Please consult the list. These are the modified list of the entire list of constellations that we're going to use and learn throughout the semester. So you might have to remove a couple of those constellations from that constellation card pack, but then you are welcome to use those images for the lab as well. And then you may not want to print and cut out these. So either works, whatever you need to do. The parts you're going to actually complete this lab is twofold. Here's the first bit. Part of learning constellations is learning not only the shape, but stories help people understand. So what I have done is I've made a small little description of each constellation, and I tried to give you some detail either about its location, its shape, or its story, or a little of everything. For example, if I say this ecliptic constellation is shaped sort of like a triangle and is named for the fish-headed, for a goat-headed, fish-tailed savior of Zeus. So a little about it's on the ecliptic, it's shaped like a triangle, and a little about its story. That should help you pick out which one of the 44 it is. Sometimes I give you hints based on things like Harry Potter or whatever. This is a hero constellation with box for arms and legs. It represents the great hero performed 12 labors of Zeus. So there are 44 questions. One each constellation is used only once, and you just fill in the name for each. And once you've used that constellation, you're never going to use it again in filling this in. So that's your quest. Which is which? After you have done that, hopefully you've got the story figured out. Hopefully you've got the shapes kind of figured out. Please do this first. And another bit of hint is please have your planisphere handy, because sometimes I give you hints about where it is. For example, here I say the hunting dog Canis Major is very close by. So this constellation is a hare, bunny, or rabbit that is close to Canis Major. So it is going to be near something else. That really helps me learn constellations if I know its neighbors. Where is it near? So the second part of the lab is, now that you have more knowledge about the constellations, can you identify them by sight? So what I've done is I've put together a collection of, there's actually 44 images, and each one is on a PowerPoint slide. So in the lab, there is a link to a Google Docs slideshow, and that Google Docs slideshow will give you one slide. This is slide 3. Down here it says slide 3. And your quest is to identify this constellation by sight. Now, I made it multiple choice. Please, in the box, write down the name of the constellation. It will do you or me no dang good if you write down the letter. I don't care about the letter. I want to know the name. And every constellation is used only once. Now, I purposely give you different pictures for a couple of reasons. One, I want to give you one picture that is going to include some hints based on where it is compared to its neighbors and or things you might see on an astronomical chart. I also want to give you a picture that is more concentrated on the basic shape of the constellation. And why is this shape not the same as that shape? Because people connect dots in their brains differently. So trust me, these are the same constellation. People just connect dots in their brains differently. I know, why can't we all just get along? But that's the way the world works. So when you identify this dot in your brain, it's only one of those 4 choices. In box 3 on the lab, please write down which one of those it is and then move on to the next slide. So for the next one, it's going to be one of those, and I purposely made it tricky because this is one of those long snaky ones, and they all look a lot alike. So use the clues about where it's near to help you figure out which one of these it is, because I get some of these confused. And then you keep going down the pike. So each one of those constellations should be used just once. So this lab is not terribly complicated. You're filling in, it's a matching here, it's a matching there. When you have that done, you take those 2 parts, upload them to Canvas, and that's all you need for the lab. And I hope you enjoy the constellation parts. I love it. I'm still learning things about them constantly because they're just fun and fascinating. And you see them from different angles, different times of year, and you go, oh yeah, that's what that one is. All right, have a grand and wonderful week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.